There are 6 big breaking cruise news items and stories that you need to know about. I'm Gary Bembridge, and this is another of my Tips for Travellers cruise updates, where I unpick the biggest cruising news and discuss what it means for you as a cruiser. Let's start with some good, positive cruise news about Caribbean cruising. Sea Dream Yacht Club's Sea Dream 1 called into Portsmouth, England on the 19th of October to pick up 19 guests before setting sail for Barbados. The ship had previously embarked passengers in both Oslo and Rotterdam. Sea Dream 1 will home base in Barbados for the winter and from November the 7th be sailing 6- and 8-night Caribbean cruises, sailing and calling on St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the beautiful island of Grenada. So if you want to cruise in the Caribbean this year, then you have one option for sure. Sea Dream will be the first cruise line definitely sailing in the Caribbean. They're doing this by avoiding starting up out of USA ports. Although as their ships, or yachts as they like to call them, only carry 112 passengers, they don't actually fall under the US no-sail ban. That ban only applies to ships carrying over 250 guests, so they could sail out of the US in theory. Sea Dream's cruises are open for international travellers who have to be able to provide proof of a negative COVID-19 test on arrival into Barbados, which has to be performed at least 72 hours before arrival, and they'll then undergo a further pier-side test before actually boarding the ship. Guests also will only be able to go on cruise line excursions in those ports. So any passenger wanting to go ashore will be allowed to do so only in organised groups by Sea Dream to beach and land sites pre-agreed by the islands. Now, Sea Dream 1 was the very first cruise ship to take passengers on board in the UK since the March shutdown. The UK government currently advises against any form of ocean cruise travel, which means any UK guests joining the ship would have to have taken out very special travel insurance from a specialist insurer willing to cover travellers cruising against government advice. It's always important to remember that normal insurance policies are invalid if you travel against your government's advice. The cruise vloggers Ben and David, they're actually on the ship's transatlantic crossing and no doubt will be posting updates on their social media accounts if you want to follow those. One of the most controversial developments in recent days is an order from the US District Judge for the Southern District of California. And this is that Carnival Corporation has to give 60 days notice to the court before their ships can re-enter US waters. Now, Carnival removed all their ships from the United States waters not long after the CDC no-sail order, and many of them are off the coast of the Bahamas, just waiting to return to start sailing out of US ports like Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Now, this ruling could really impact when they could resume cruising when the no-sail order is eventually lifted, as it would take at least 2 months before they could head back to USA ports. So this affects all their lines, including Carnival, Princess, Holland America, and Seabourn. Now, the reason for the 60-day notice was part of a ruling against Carnival Corporation for ongoing cases for breaking environmental regulations. Now, some of these which they actually pleaded guilty to date right back to 2017 and 2019. The judge wants much more reassurance that equipment and measures have been put in place on each of the ships, and hence the notice to enable checks to take place as ships return to US waters. Now, Carnival are working to try and get the order down from 60 days to just 2 weeks notice. So we need to watch out how this plays out over the coming weeks and months, as it could have a big impact on timing of Carnival Corporation's lines return to service. Now, regular followers of my channel and updates will know that I was due to go to Antarctica on a Ponant expedition ship in November, and that they cancelled the season initially up to Christmas 2020. Now, the Antarctica season runs normally from end October to early March. Most of the other players had started to cancel to then as well, so up till Christmas. It now looks like the Antarctica season for 2020-2021 will not run at all. One of the biggest players, Hurtigruten, has been the very first to cancel the entire season, with the rest of the lines expected to follow pretty shortly. Now, this is not unexpected, as to join the cruises, you fly through either Chile or Argentina, and most of the international flights there are still banned, and they're not really looking at opening anytime soon. So moving ships all the way down to Antarctica does not make sense. Now, in related news, Hurtigruten also announced that they have split their business into two. So there's now a dedicated expedition company, so they focus on areas like the Arctic, Antarctica, Greenland, British Isles, and South America. Then there's the Hurtigruten Norway, which runs the very traditional Norway coastal voyages. Now, they've been running these since 1893. They run all year round between Bergen, right down in the south, and Kirkenes, which is right up in the north in the Russian border. Now, you may have seen some headlines about COVID cases in recent days on some of the cruises running in Europe, most noticeably about Carnival Cruise Corporation's Costa Cruises. Now, I want to unpick and explain what happened and actually why it is not all bad news. Costa Diadema was running a series of charters for a French tour company carrying only French passengers. The first sailing had 600 guests. Now, it's important to remember that's on a ship that can carry 4,900 passengers. It sailed out of Genoa on a 40-night itinerary visiting Italian and Greek ports. Now, the Italian and Costa cruise protocols require that all guests are tested at the end of each cruise before they return to Italy. 7 asymptomatic cases were identified in that testing. Now, those guests, they were isolated and then they were disembarked in Palermo in an agreement with the Italian authorities. Contact tracing on the ship then took place. Now, this is aided by the use of a wearable medallion that tracks which guests have spent over 50 minutes in close contact with other guests, so they can easily identify who's at risk. Now, all the crew were then tested. No other cases were identified on that sailing. Now, this, I think, shows how really strict protocols, which include testing, along with sort of ongoing physical distancing and tracking on board, can actually identify and lead to only isolating those people affected. Now, in the run-up to the shutdown, any case on a ship would have sent the entire ship into lockdown, all guests being quarantined for extended periods of time. And what we're seeing now is these new protocols are showing great promise in that there could be less draconian but still effective ways to manage outbreaks, and this could be really workable. So I think there's not all bad news. They caught it fast and they were able to deal it in a more limited way. I received many comments and questions about 2021 cruise fares, all focused on if they're going to be significantly higher and should you book now. The concern, of course, is that the inability to cruise for almost a year will lead to huge demand and push fares up. Now, I have always been of the view that this will not be the case, and if you watch my videos, you will know that. There are a significant number of people that would have cruised that will not want to any longer, and demand will be lower because the new protocols will also mean that many people will hold back cruising until it returns much more to the way it was previously, and I see a lot of comments around that. Now, this was confirmed this week as the cruise corporations started updating their financial performance, which they have to do by law at certain periods. Royal Caribbean, for example, they advised that bookings are running below COVID-19 levels, and pricing for 2021 is, and I'm going to quote here, pricing for 2021 bookings is relatively flat year over year. 2021 cruise fares look to be at best around the level they were, and once cruising openings, I stick by my prediction that you will find great deals and lower fares. The 2020 European river cruising season has effectively been called off. While a few lines catering for European guests, so like across Europe, for example, have been sailing, the major lines that are mostly filled by US, UK and Australian guests have confirmed no river cruises for 2020. The latest to cancel is AMA Waterways, joining Uniworld Cruises, Crystal Cruises, Scenic, Emerald Waterways and Viking Cruises that will sail no ships in Europe in 2020. AMA Waterways did run some limited charters on their AMA Christina ship for German guests. So those are the 6 biggest news stories breaking that I felt you need to know about and what I think they mean for us as cruise lovers. I have loads more Tips for Travelers episodes full of cruising advice and tips. So why not enjoy another one right now?